Difficult to cover it all quickly, but because the complex business, over 200 businesses now in 44 countries.
Sure.
But the operating earnings, which is the main driver, I suppose, is up 4%. A bit disappointing. We would obviously want it higher. Double digit would be great.
Yeah.
But in the environment in which we're operating, 4% is very credible.
Yeah.
Our main measure is return on group embedded value. So that on an adjusted basis, where we take out market movements and changes in the risk discount rate, that's up 19.4%, which is well above our hurdle rate. That's our main financial metric.
Right.
As you'd expect with a diverse business, 60% South Africa, 40% outside of South Africa. We had some standout performances, and we had one or two disappointments.
Yeah, let's talk about the disappointments, because I guess they depressed the overall result, right?
Yeah, sure. And the standout ones help it. So yeah, quite right. So East Africa, we didn't do as well. In Kenya in particular, in the life side and in the general side. Yeah. Tanzania on the general side. We have an associate in Botswana, Letshego. Also, we had to have some impairments there. They had some unexpected tax assessments. And they had to raise some additional provisions on the business. So I mean, not great, not huge in the overall scheme of things, but those are a bit disappointing. Yeah. The group risk experience in South Africa, that was also a little bit below par what we would want. Still profitable, but not at the right level. Right. But then we had some standout performances. Sanlam Sky, our Glacier business held up very, very well. In the performance, and the rest of our employee benefits business did particularly well. Yeah,
I wanted you to touch as well on the performance of your investment business, because you also know there that the performance wasn't quite up to scratch because of the environment as well as global markets. I want to understand where in particular you got hurt, because when you look at global markets, they seem to be all right.
Yeah, 2018 wasn't a great year.
For South African equities.
For South African equities, it was down 11.5%. So, I mean, there was nowhere to hide in that performance. So, I mean, the fact is that, what we do, we have many, many funds that are managed by Sanlam Investments, third-party funds and Sanlam funds. Right. They're all benchmarked against the appropriate benchmark, depending on whether it's a balanced fund, absolute return, high equities or whatever. Yeah. And generally, the Sanlam people did pretty well. On a relative basis, they did actually better in the second half of the year, when markets were negative, as when the first half of the year, when markets are positive. On a relative basis, we didn't do so well in the first half of 2018. We did better in the second half, and we're doing a bit better now. But, I mean, generally you get a pretty solid performance out of Sanlam Investment Markets. Yeah. But there's nowhere to hide. I mean, if the markets are down, the markets there's nowhere to hide. Yeah. Emerging markets were not strong in 2018. And they've impacted South Africa suffered as a result.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that South Africa thing. If you were to look back on all the things that didn't quite work out the way you wanted them to work out, would you say the dirt has been washed away and you're looking at 2019 with a more positive outlook, and you're likely to perhaps turn the corner on those?
If we look at 2018, so we started as a country, Ramaphoria, the first quarter went pretty well. Yeah. We're in the life insurance investment business. So it's around confidence, it's around GDP growth. Things were looking a little bit better. In reality, I think set in, and the extent of the task to repair South Africa and the economy, sort of people began to realize that. So business confidence started to drop, individuals started to drop, and the sales just became more difficult. So as we sit here now, in the run-up to the election, it's tough going. Now, what one would look for is a better outcome. GDP growth is now projected at 1.8% in South Africa.
And we know what happens with those projections, right? They begin high, and then by the end of the year, they are half what they projected at the initial
so hopefully
the beginning
a bit better than 0.8. But the point is, the economy is growing nowhere near its potential and nowhere near what is necessary for the priorities of South Africa. Yeah. So we have to accept that. So what business is about for Sanlam today is a good relative performance. The absolute performance is not going to be double digit. If the economy is growing at 1.8, it's 100%. Very, very difficult.
So what does Sanlam do in this environment? I guess investors will be looking to understand from you where you're going to find the growth in this environment.
In South Africa, it's just by getting stronger at the expense of the competitors. Yeah. There's only so much cake. Yeah. People haven't got lots of money.
And you can only shrink so much.
We're not into the shrinking. We're into operational efficiencies, and we've shown much of that, digital and technology and all that sort of stuff. But opening the back door on retrenchments That's not the game that we play at Sanlam. And that, of course, the president has specifically asked business to be responsible in that regard.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's not the game in the tough times. It's about operational efficiencies.
Yeah. I've been told 2 final questions. The first one, the South Africa story, the story around Alexander Forbes, which seems to refuse to go away, the suggestion being that Sanlam, by the back door, is building a position in Alexander Forbes. Any update on that? Has there been any discussion?
We have no shares in Alexander Forbes. Many years ago,
your biggest shareholder?
Our empowerment shareholder has a stake in Alexander Forbes.
Right. And
they have a stake in Sanlam. But we have no shares. We have a business relationship with Alexander Forbes, which we would hope to improve. We've had a relationship with them for many, many years. They're a very important provider of business to us. We have lots of discussions with Alexander Forbes about how we can do more with them, how they can do more with them. Those discussions, as with any partnership, will continue. But we have no aspiration to have shares in Alexander Forbes.
And there are no negotiations going on in terms of an acquisition of a position in Alexander Forbes?
No, I mean, there's lots of discussions on potentials with Forbes, with other brokers, with other banks. But there's nothing on the table to discuss, nothing specific.
Final message to the president ahead of the elections and what he needs to do with the economy?
I think the president knows what he needs to do. He knows the priorities.
Yeah.
It's about improving the fiscal position. It's about sorting out the state-owned companies, Eskom in particular. It's about improving business confidence. It's about getting growth back into the economy. It's about getting business working with labor, working with government, addressing the issues. All of us have got to play a role. Business is actively supporting the president through BLSA and through all our industry associations.
Yeah.
And that's very, very necessary at this time for the recovery that is there and that we all hope for in the country.